Welcome to the Snapback Life podcast, where resilient women come to reclaim their power, heal from trauma, and step into their most authentic selves. I'm your host, Jacinth Dada, your snapback from trauma to triumph life coach. And I'm here to guide you on your journey to healing and empowerment. In each episode, we dive into personal growth, overcoming adversity, and building a life that reflects your true potential. Stick around until the end for some exciting resources and opportunities to further your journey. Let's snap back and thrive together. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our Friday Snapback Live Facebook Live. It is a beautiful day, as I always say. And guess what? I'm outdoors again. Decided to do our live today on my deck. The weather is so beautiful. I mean, it pained me to just sit inside. So I'm actually trying to embrace and enjoy these next weeks of beautiful weather, because before you know it, fall will be upon us. I'm sitting out here, I'm noticing the leaves are changing to yellow, and you could see them falling. So it is, I love to come out when I can, and just sometimes I'm out, I have breakfast out here, I read, just to enjoy the weather when it's not too hot. I'm just waiting for whoever wants to come on live with me. The connection may be a little slow because I'm outside. But today, ladies, I want to welcome you again to the Snapback Life with Jacinth. This is something that I want to do as long as I can on Friday, wherever I am. One of the things I'm working on is trying to make our lives probably just 20, 30 minutes, the most 45 minutes. So hopefully today we can do that. And as you remember, this month, September, we talked early on one of the Friday lives that September is self-care month. It's considered self-care September. And because we're still in the month of September, we have probably another week and a half or so in the month of September. I just want to leverage this month and to talk more about self-care and about how important it is for us as women to take care of ourselves. If you notice, this is something that I'm very passionate about. And, for those of you who do not know, several years ago, I developed a program, a coaching program called From Trauma to Triumph. And my brand is basically the snapback, from trauma to triumph. So I talk a lot about, taking care of ourselves as women. And to be able to do that, we have to rest. So in this program, I use this tool, which is an acronym of REST. And I use the REST tool as a way of showing us and coaching us in ways and strategies how to rest, how to take care of ourselves. There's so many ways of doing that. But today, I want to kind of define what self-care is, and this is really like a coaching session. I'm gonna coach you through just areas of self-care, and ways that we can things that we can incorporate in our lives that will help us to navigate burnout. So the self-care that I want to talk about today is how to avoid burnout, right? And if you are in that process of burnout, how to manage it, and giving you some tools on how to do that. So welcome, and we want to start. So I wanted to ask the question, how do you define self-care? And whether you're on live with me right now or if you're going to watch the replays, I would love for you to, put in the chat some of the things that you do, some of the things you incorporate in your daily lives, right? That helps you to self-care and helps you to avoid burning out. And we know that burnout is usually correlated with our jobs, right? So let's start by defining what self-care is. According to the World Health Organization, self-care is the ability of individuals, families, and communities to promote their health, prevent diseases, to maintain their health, and to cope with illness and disability with or without the support of a healthcare provider. And that is how the World Health Organization defines what self-care is. And one of the things that I find that is so important when we begin to be aware of how important it is to take care of ourselves is our ability to know ourselves, right? Knowing thyself. If we don't know ourselves, if we don't know the things that stresses us out, that triggers us, that cause us to be depressed, the things that makes us overextend ourselves, right? Then it's very difficult for us to care for ourselves. So I wanted to go to just give you about 3 or 4 quotes that are very important to me and quotes that I apply to my life over the years. And one of the first ones is by Leo Tuz, and he says this. He says, he who knows others is wise. He who knows thyself is enlightened. So when you know others, you're wise. Knowing about other people, how they live, celebrities, whatever, you're wise because you have an insight about someone. But he says, when you know yourself, then there's an enlightenment, right? And another philosopher that I love his quote when it comes to knowing thyself, it's Socrates. And he says, my friend, care for your psyche, right? Know thyself. For once we know ourselves, we may learn how to care for ourselves. So, I mean, that is the nutshell of knowing thyself and self-care. When you know yourself, then you're able to care for yourself, right? And the other one is Frederick Nietzsche. I might not be pronouncing that right, but he says this. He says, one's own self is well hidden from one's own self. Of all the mines of the treasures, one's own is the last to be dug up. I love this. We on our own selves are hidden from us. And years ago when I saw this quote, I was like blown away, because there's so many things about us that we really don't know about us, right? And he says, of all the mines, right? We know there are diamond mines, gold mines, all kind of mines, coal mines, whatever, cobalt mines, right? And people are able to excavate from these mines. But one of the mines that we last think to mine or to dig up is about ourselves, right? And the last one I want to share with you is by Nelson Mandela. And on my PowerPoint, I have this highlighted because I gave this teaching on self-care to prevent burnout in a healthcare setting. And he says, Nelson Mandela says this, he says, there's only one corner of the universe you can be certain of improving, and that's your own self. Let me repeat that. There is only one corner of the universe you can be certain of improving, and that's your own self. And to me, that says, we live in a world that is so big, it's so large. But the thing about this is that we see so many things that are happening around the world, and we want to change. We pray for change. We hope for change. And there are times that we put ourselves in the position to make changes. But the greatest change that we can make is improving our own selves, because when we improve ourselves, then we're able to improve those around us or the circumstances around us, right? So I think this was so pivotal. Knowing yourself is the grassroots, or should I say the root of self-care. And there are 7 strategies or keys of self-care that I talk about that can prevent burnout. I mean, a few weeks ago, I gave you 7 strategies of self-care, but these are still some of the keys that we can incorporate in our lives to avoid burnout. And the reason why it came upon me, or I thought about doing this today, was, 2 days ago, I worked, and normally I work 2 days a week. And in the last couple of weeks, I've picked up some shifts and, help out some of my colleagues by picking up some of their shifts. And believe me, my body went through like a shock, right? And because, it was just very busy in the last couple of weeks. And the last day I worked, which was, today's what, Friday, so Wednesday, I realized that I was getting so, agitated, so stressed out, and I felt the signs of burnout coming. And I had to kind of rest, reset, and realize that, wow, I need to step back, I need to pause, and I need to initiate and implement some of the things that I teach and some of the things I coach about, so that I don't get into burnout, right? So that's why I felt it necessary today to kind of encourage you and to coach you through some of these self-care strategies to avoid burnout. So one of the strategies and keys, there are 7 here that I would touch on. And the first one is mindfulness. And if you notice, a few weeks ago, we talked about mindfulness. And what mindfulness basically is being present where you are, right? If you are reading, be present. If you're spending time with your family, be present. You understand me? And if you're in nature, just be present in the moment. Enjoy the moment. Be mindful of, what you're doing in that moment. We have a tendency, ladies, to multitask, and we're good at it. We're skilled at it. But I find that as I get older, I'm able to do it, but I'm not able to do it to the ability that I used to, because now it wears me out. And technically, and not only that, research has shown that we're not designed, our brains are not designed to be multitasking, right? And we feel that when we're able to multitask, that, it's good. We brag about how we can do 7 things at one time. But believe me, it sets us up to burn out. It sets us up to be stressed out, right? And the next one is listening to our bodies, right? What is your body saying to you? Are you having a headache? Is your body saying you're tired? You need to rest. Is your body saying I'm hungry? Or is your body saying I need to begin to eat healthy? I need to begin to incorporate wholesome meals in my diet, right? So there are so many little things that we can incorporate as we listen to our bodies, right? When our bodies are giving us symptoms of pain, we need to listen. If you're stressed out, you're becoming anxious, you're becoming irritable, your body is speaking to you. And it is very important that we listen to our body. And another key, another strategy of self-care to avoid burnout is honoring what your body is saying. And what do I mean by that? Honoring what your body is saying. So if your body is saying, you know what, I am getting anxious, I'm stressed out, you honor your body by doing the things that is necessary. For example, eat on a regular basis, eat wholesome, take time to rest, to pause from the busyness of life, right? Do something fun. So those are some ways of honoring your body, right? Put in the nutrients in your body that your body needs, because food, we know, is medicine, right? It is said that food is medicine. And when we incorporate in our bodies the foods that are necessary to fuel us and to give us the energy that we need to do the things that we want to do, right? And to accomplish our assignment, to work effectively, and to show up in our greatness, we need to honor what our bodies are saying to us. And the other key to self-care to avoid burnout is to practice self-care non-negotiables. This is one of my favorite, right? Practice and develop, incorporate in your day, in your life, habits that are non-negotiable, that are going to prevent burnout or to help you deal with the burnout that you're going through, right? For a lot of us, we don't set, I think, like non-negotiables for me are like setting boundaries. There are habits in my life, self-care habits that I incorporate in my life, right? That I practice. It is a non-negotiable. For example, I am all about exercise. I love to go and walk. I hike. Anything on the outdoors, especially in the seasons when the weather is amazing, right? When I am off from my job, right? There's some negotiables. My devotional time, my time spent in the presence of the Lord. And then after that, I put on my workout clothes and I go walking, right? Wherever I'm going, whichever park I decide to go, and I go walking. Why? Because I'm honoring my body. I'm honoring what my body is saying. So you need to incorporate habits that are non-negotiable in your life that will prevent burnout, right? And the other key is create your self-care regimen. You have to be intentional about creating a self-care regimen. And I always tell people, start small. Start from where you are, right? Start from where you are. Begin now. And one of the ways of doing that is writing it down. Journaling, right? Setting that list of things. Start with 2 things you want to be able to incorporate, those non-negotiables that you want to incorporate in your life. That becomes habits, right? When it becomes a habit, then it becomes a non-negotiable. So write it down. And my 6th strategy or key to self-care that can avoid burnout is setting boundaries. And we touched on that. Setting boundaries, right? When we set boundaries when it comes to our self-care and our maintenance, right? Maintenance as far as taking care of ourselves, right? When you set boundaries, then that means your family, your friends, your children, even your job, even your responsibility on your job. When you set boundaries, right, that means you're setting up a networking work frame that will prevent you from burning out. And not only that, what it does also that is very important, I think, it sets you up to be effective, be influential, and to perform your job, whatever it is, to the best of your ability, right? Giving 100% when you show up to your job or when you show up in your own business, right? because you set boundaries. Okay, I'm only gonna see clients until 4 o'clock, right? Clients cannot call me after 4, right? I'm only going to work this many hours a week, right? So when you set these boundaries, then it helps and prevent you from burning out. I can't stress that enough. And the seventh and last one that I talk about is be proactive. And this ties into all the other 6. When we are you're proactive, meaning that you're setting things in motion, you're setting things in order, right? Before it happens. So you're giving yourself the strategies and the tools that you need to prevent yourself from burning out. I learned this years ago. And the reason that I am passionate about women resting and caring for themselves, as I usually said, is the fact that I've dealt with burnout. I've gone through burnout so bad that I was hospitalized. They were thinking that I was having a heart attack and running all kinds of tests, right? And blood work and all kinds of things, because my physicians thought I was actually having symptoms of a heart attack, right? And when everything came back, all my tests came back negative. My blood work was amazing. I remember the day like it was yesterday. My doctor, she sat me down and she pulled up her chair and was up in my face. She said, Mrs. Dada, all your tests are back normal. Your lab work, everything is good. Here is my diagnosis. You are burning out. You're in burnout. And she pulled from the World Health Care Organization website and gave me a list of all the signs and symptoms of burnout. And I want to let you know that I was probably 99% of the symptoms I was having. And it is no joke. Burnout it can put you in the hospital. Burnout can actually kill you. And I want you to understand the importance of setting boundaries, of being mindful, of listening to your body, of practicing these non-negotiable habits, creating that self-regimen. Write it down, setting boundaries and being proactive, not reactive. And what do I mean by reactive? It's like on my refrigerator. If you come to my house and look at my refrigerator, one of the things that I have on the refrigerator that was quoted by this guy years ago, I can't remember his name, but he wrote the book, I think the book was called The Maker's Diet. And one of the things that he talks about, and he makes this quote, he said, either you pay the farmer now or pay the doctor later. And I thought that was so profound, right? So not being reactive means you don't want to wait till the doctor tells you you're in burnout, you're burning out, you're having a heart attack, your blood pressure is high, you're having, your A1C is above the roof, right? And now you're setting yourself up for all these medical problems and issues. Now you have to be taking medications. Now you're being told that you have to do this. Because if you don't do this, if you don't incorporate these things in your lives, these eating wholesome, managing your diet, managing your overall health, exercising, doing things that promote health, you understand me? Then the doctor is saying to you, guess what? If you don't do this, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be on all these medications to help you maintain. And here's the problem, ladies, that I find is that a lot of individuals, especially us as women, a lot of women are willing to take the medication, to, take the meds every day. And in most cases, all we need to do is to be intentional about self-care, incorporating those non-negotiable. And when we do that, we find that a lot of the drugs that is prescribed for us we don't need to take it. Take it from me. I don't take any meds other than my, I take an antiarrhythmia because I do have what they call atrial fib, right? Atrial fibrillation. So my heart goes into an arrhythmia at times. So I was diagnosed with that a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. So after all these years, I had to go on an anti-arrhythmic drug. And let me tell you, it's hard for me to take that drug every day because I'm not used to taking drugs, right? And I'm still praying for divine healing, right? And I do take an aspirin every day. Almost every day. So there are medications that we do have to take because of certain conditions or certain diagnoses that we have. I'm not saying don't take meds, because there's certain medications that you have to take. And I would encourage you to take it. But in the meantime, take care of yourself. And here's a bonus when it comes to self-care strategies to avoid burnout. Get mentoring, get coaching, and listen me, get your therapy, right? Get your therapy. It's all about our mindset, right? So let's talk a little bit about the mindset, because for us to be able to be passionate about taking care of ourselves, knowing who we are, knowing thyself, we have to change our mindset. And what is a mindset? It is said that a mindset is a belief that is fixed and non-negotiable. So if you have the mindset that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, that you are created in the image and in the likeness of God, and if you have the mindset that you have purpose here on earth, and that God has given you an assignment, right? And you're passionate about helping other people, right? Whatever your passion is, if you have that mindset, then it becomes a non-negotiable. It becomes something that is fixed, right? And a healthy mindset positions you for transformation. Transformation simply means replacing an old you, an old thought, an old belief into a new one. Replacing the old you into a great you, right? That is the snapback. That is, in a nutshell, the snapback life. Your ability to change your mindset to become resilient, right? Life becomes the result of your mindset. Whatever your mindset is, that's what your life evolves into. If your mindset is to evolve into all that God has for you, to accomplish all that God has for you, then that is what you will accomplish. So I am big on mindset. And listen to me, I did not always have this mindset about caring for myself. And, you know, I always had vision. I always had dreams. But to be able to accomplish your dreams and your vision in life, to be able to accomplish the assignment that God has divinely given you before the foundations of the earth, before you hit planet Earth, you have to have a transformation of your mind. Because I always say that one of the greatest strongholds, one of the greatest battlegrounds that we have to navigate in life, especially as believers in Christ Jesus, is our mind. And how do you build your mindset? I don't know how you build your mindset, but I'll give you an example. For me, to change my mindset and to put me in that position to have a fixed belief and to have non-negotiable and to have a healthy mindset that is able to position me for transformation, it's the Word of God. The Bible says that we should not be conformed to this world system of thinking, but we should be able to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. How are we transformed? We're transformed by renewing our minds through the Word of God and through the things that empowers us to be the best version of who we are, right? Remember, life becomes the result of our mindset. Listen, I don't want to be too long today, so I'm running through. Okay, so one of the things I want you to ask yourself is I want you to ask yourself 5 questions, right? 5 questions. And you can answer these in the chat if you want to engage. I would love for you to engage. Jennifer, I'm so happy you're on with me. I'm hoping this is helping. Please engage. I know sometimes it's very difficult for us to engage because we're listening, we're working, we're doing all kinds of things. But later on, you know, in the chat, you can answer these questions. So here are the 5 questions I want to ask. Were you taught self-care growing up or at any point in your life? Were you taught that as a child or as a young girl growing up? And the second question is, what are your self-care goals? What are some of your self-care goals? And just list 2 of them. And you can take time, right? Take some time and just journal this and answer this. These are coaching questions, right? The next question, number 3, is how do you plan to achieve these goals, right? The self-care goals that you have, right? List 2 or 3 ways, right, that you plan to achieve them. And the 4th one is, are these goals attainable, right? Whatever goals we set in life, it should be SMART goals, right? We should be able to attain those goals in a timely manner, right? And the 5th question and last is, what is your greatest challenge when it comes to your self-care maintenance? What is the greatest challenge that you face? And when you list that challenge, what is one action that you can take to alleviate that challenge, right? For me, the challenge that I face, and I talked about this last week, is procrastination. We have the tendency to put things off, right? So I have people in my life, coaches, mentor, even family member, that I'm accountable to, because when I say something or I say I'm going to do something, then they hold me accountable or remind me, right? My daughter is one of those accountability partners that I have, right? They hold you accountable, right? We need to have those people, that specific girlfriend or that spouse or that sister or whatever it is in our lives that hold us accountable so that we can be able to overcome the challenges that we have when it comes to taking care of ourselves. And as I always say, self-care is not selfish. It is self-full, right? When you take care of yourself, you're fooling yourself with what you need to go through life, what you need to accomplish the things that you set out to accomplish, right? It's giving you the capacity. Self-care gives you the capacity, right, to accomplish your goals and your visions, right? So what are you noticing? Here's some other coaching questions. What are you noticing in your life that needs a shift? What are you noticing in your life that needs a shift? For me this week, it was cutting down on the hours that I was working, because I was intentional in the last 2 years to just work part-time, 2 days a week. And I find myself picking up shifts. And I realized I was having symptoms of anxiety and stress. And so I noticed this week that this is something that I noticed that needs a shift to prevent me from burning out. So what are you noticing in your own life, ladies, that you need to make a shift, that you need to change, you need to make an adjustment that will facilitate your self-care? And what can you do about what you are feeling or what you are noticing? What are some of the things that you can do, right, in as far as what you're noticing? For me, it's to cut down on my time, you know, my hours, and to, for the next couple of weeks or months, just stick to my 2 days a week, right? So I can focus on my coaching business and I can focus on my assignment, right? And that is to help women to snap back from trauma to triumph, right? And to empower and to be an example to women and to coach women, right? Because if I'm constantly adding hours to my work schedule, then what I'm passionate about and my vision will just dissipate, right? And I will not show up the way I need to show up. And the second coaching question I want to ask you is, what adjustments can you make to get your self-care at the top of your to-do list? What adjustments can you incorporate, or what can you do to get your self-care, right, at the top of your to-do list? Because think about it, a lot of times our to-do list has nothing to do with us. It has to do with what we're doing, all the do's, right? Action, what we're doing, all the things that we're putting on ourselves to accomplish. But in the meantime, as far as when it comes to our mental or physical health and your emotional health, it's not at the top, right? So what can you do this week, today, tomorrow, that will put your self-care agenda maintenance at the top of your to-do list? And third, what are at least 2 barriers you can identify, right? These questions also plays into the questions that we had before, right? But there are barriers in our lives that prevent us from caring for ourselves at time, right? So what are 2 barriers that you can identify that, you know, is hindering you from taking care of yourself? And the fourth question, ladies, is what will you commit to doing and when? These are coaching questions, okay? What will you commit to doing and when will you begin to do that, right? For me this week, I was committed to cut down on my hours of work, and I began yesterday, okay? So you have to have the goal in mind and the action. When will you take that action, right? Okay, so we're talking about self-care that prevents burnout, right? So a lot of us don't really understand what burnout is. And I want to give you a definition of burnout. And this is a burnout definition that I got from a research that I did in the past. And it says that burnout is a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion caused by depletion of a person's ability to cope with one's environment. It is associated with increased turnover, employee absenteeism, poor co-worker support, depersonalization, decreased performance, decreased patient satisfaction, and I can interject, decreased family satisfaction, decreased self-satisfaction, and difficulty in recruiting and retaining staff. And this definition I have here, I have this definition because I gave this talk at a healthcare in a healthcare setting to nurses. So you will see that we're talking a lot about our productivity and retaining staff, because when you're burnout, then people are going to call out. You're not going to show up the way you're supposed to show up. You're not going to be productive. You're not going to be mindful, right? And burnout rates, it talks about the rates of burnout. Burnout rates are significantly higher, right, for hospital nurses. And many of you might know I am a nurse. And so I did this talk to, nurses, and I did this for a couple of years. And burnout is shown in nurses, but not only nurses. You can burn out if you're in corporate America, whatever, if you're an entrepreneur, you have your own business, right? So burnout, the rate and the significance of burnout happens in almost across the board in any profession, right? And they were saying that it's a right study. It says that in recent study, they determined that every 1 out of 5 nurses, okay, reported burnout. I won't go into that. That's a whole different self-care talk that I do when it comes to burnout, when I'm talking to healthcare workers. right? So, and I'll close with this. So basically, the burnout is defined as a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion caused by depletion of a person's ability to cope with one's environment. So just leave it at that, right? How can I begin? How can you begin the journey of taking care of yourself? And not only that, making it a part of your lifestyle, right? I'm going to give you 10 ways that you can begin. 10 keys, 10 strategies. I like to use the word strategy and keys. 10 ways, right, that we can begin by taking care of ourselves. Number one, acknowledge self-care. Acknowledge where you are. Number two, begin now. Don't procrastinate. Don't put it off for tomorrow. Don't put it off until you think the time is right. No, begin now. Begin now. Do something incremental that you can say. And let me tell you, when you begin to do something in increments, before you know it, it starts to grow. And the next thing, before you know it, you're doing it. It becomes a lifestyle. It becomes a practice. And number three, experiment. Experiment with different things. If you're not one to walk, start walking in your neighborhood, right? Pick up join a book club, you know, do something that is new. Experiment with different aspects of self-care. And number four, be consistent. When you begin, be consistent. And listen, there are times when we fall off, right? We fall off track. But don't just stay off. Come back on track. And that's why it's important to have people in your life, mentors, coaches, friends, you know, that can hold you accountable. And the fifth one is consider what makes you happy. Consider what makes you happy, right? Happiness is an external thing, right? And there's nothing wrong with happiness. There's nothing wrong with laughter. There's nothing wrong with just being happy, right? So consider what makes you happy. What are the things that makes you happy? Is it watching a comedy? Is it just being childish, being funny? You know, we all have those things in our lives that just makes us happy. I love to travel. I love just going out and walking in the park. It makes me happy, right? And number six, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace to begin from where you are. Give yourself grace to mess up here and there, right? 7, and this is number one for me. Okay, this is where I am so intentional about. Number 7, curate space in your home for self-care. And what do I mean by that? There's wherever you live, where, you know, we spend more time in our homes than we spend anywhere else. So why not curate? Why not develop areas in our home, right, that is conducive to self-care? A reading nook, a room where we can just go and just sit in the presence of the Lord, a prayer room, whatever it is, a place that you can sit and watch funny movies, watch, you know, I love Netflix, right? And the reason I love Netflix is because it gives me the ability to choose what I want to watch, right? If I want to laugh, I know I can watch a comedy or watch some kind of something that was going to make me laugh, right? So curate those spaces in your home for self-care, right? And number 8, plan. Plan it out. Put it on the calendar, right? And sometimes in my office, or in my phone, ladies, our phones, right? It's a computer. We all have calendars on our phone. Plan it out. Put it in. I'm going for a massage on this day. I'm going for a walk. I'm meeting with friends for lunch this day. Whatever it is, plan it out. Make it a monthly thing. For me, every 3 months, and I learned this a few years ago, especially when I started having coaches, is that every 3 months, I have something on my calendar that I am going to do, whether it's to go away, whatever it is, I'm going to have something in my calendar every 3 months that is tailored to refueling me, getting with women that are powerful, women that are going to, speak into my life, or I'm going to speak into their life, or I'm going to just travel, have fun, whatever it is, right? I'm going to go for a massage, whatever it is. Plan it out. Put it on the calendar. I cannot stress that enough. And number 9, invite a friend on your journey of this self-care. Oh, that is awesome, right? A lot of us, there are people in our lives, there's other women in our lives that we can invite on the journey of our self-care journey, right? And number 10, be intentional. That is my biggie. Be intentional. I'm reading a book now that was gifted to me a few months ago by John Maxwell, and it's called Intentional Living. And let me tell you, that's like up my alley. And one of these days on the lives, I'm gonna take some of his strategies, and we're gonna talk about it, because that is something that I am passionate about. And I encourage you to be intentional about taking care of yourself. Live life intentionally. Live life intentionally. And you will be amazed at what you can accomplish. You will be amazed. So ladies, I hope and pray that going forward, starting today, that you will take a moment of your day and begin to answer some of the questions we talked about on our live. Begin now to incorporate those self-care habits. And remember that self-care is not selfish, it is self-full. Have a great day. This was awesome. And I do hope that beginning today, if you have not incorporated habits that are non-negotiable, boundaries, as far as your self-care is concerned, I pray and I hope that you will find the strength and find the stamina to begin now. Grab your journal and sit down in a quiet place and begin to answer some of those questions, those coaching questions we asked today, and begin taking care of yourself. Hey ladies, remember, it is all about the snapback life. And remember also that life is a gift. Live it well. Have a great Friday, and I'll see you next week on the Snapback Live with Jacinth Dada. Thank you for tuning in to the Snapback Live podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an opportunity to snap back and thrive with us. And if this message resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with your friends, your family, or anyone who could benefit from joining our powerful community of resilient women. I'm also accepting speaking engagements, so if you're looking for a dynamic keynote speaker for your next event, let's connect. You can find more details on my speaking, joining the Snapback community, and all things the Snapback Life at thesnapback.org. Again, at thesnapback.org. Until next time, remember, your comeback is always stronger than the setback.